Hello, me again. So yesterday, Shelly Finkel sat down with the Boxing Voice, boxingvoice.com, to talk about Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn, Deontay Wilder. Same old bullshit, really. And I've really been struggling to make this video. The reason why is because I'm tired of it, man. I'm genuinely tired of all this talk about negotiations, offers, counter offers, getting angry about being called names, making things public, keeping things quiet. I'm just tired of all of this bollocks. And I really, it's difficult for me to keep saying the same thing in different ways time and again. It's hard. It's difficult because I've been giving you guys the same kind of my opinion, which hasn't changed, and I've been sharing it for the last 3 months when it comes to Shelly Finkel and this whole scenario, this whole situation. And the reason why I've decided to talk about this is I just want to share a couple of things with you guys, a couple of things that I took away from the conversation yesterday that Shelly Finkel had with Boxing Voice, boxingvoice.com. And while we're talking about Boxing Voice, by the way, remember when they used to have that outro, "Welcome back, gang," with net neutrality kicking in and all of that stuff? I used to just find that funny. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but they were asking for donations because of net neutrality, which I found quite funny. Anyway, so going back to Shelly Finkel and the things that you had to say yesterday, I want to make this a quick one, so let's get into it. The first thing that I took away from this interview is a single word, and the word is consistency. Eddie Hearn's been consistent in what he's been saying for the last year or so. And what he's been saying is the message he's been giving is we want the fight. Anthony Joshua wants to fight Wilder. Anthony Joshua wants to become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And that's what they've been saying. And what actions have they been taking in order to back up the claims of wanting this fight? Well, Eddie Hearn's been telling us, I made them an offer. I sent Shelly Finkel an email. I've been trying to get in touch with him. No one responds to me. We want this fight. He went and spoke to John Skipper. John, go and speak to Shelly Finkel. Give them an offer. Let's see if they want this fight. So his actions and his words match each other. And the consistency in the message is Anthony Joshua wants this fight and we're trying everything we can to make it happen. Now, Shelly Finkel, on the other hand, has been inconsistent. He contradicts himself in the same interview, never mind from one interview to the next. His message has been entirely inconsistent, and this is why I keep making these videos, because I keep seeing the holes, I keep seeing the contradictions, so I have to just talk about them. So going specifically about this interview, I just want to talk about a couple of things. The first thing and the most important thing is the guy himself, Deontay Wilder. His message has been one face, one name, one champion. He's been talking about how he wants to fight Joshua, how he wants to become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That's the message that Deontay Wilder is giving us. Now, the other message that Deontay Wilder is giving us is, oh, I'm a free agent. I love being a free agent, baby. Because why? It gives him the opportunity to speak to different broadcasters, speak to different people, get the best deal that suits him at whatever time he needs it. He loves being a free agent. He's his own boss. He doesn't have to answer to anyone. I love being a free agent. If you love being a free agent, if you love being your own boss, if you love being the man that calls the shots, if you're the one who wants to fight Anthony Joshua, if you're the one who wants to be the one face, one name, one champion, why the fuck have you got your plate full for 2019? Why has Shelly Finkel just told us that you're busy for the rest of the year and you're going to revisit fighting Joshua in 2020? Why? That's inconsistent. The message you're giving us and your actual actions are two totally different things. And another word for what I'm just described there is lies and bullshit. And that's what you're doing. You're lying and you're bullshitting us. Another thing that I picked up on was the fact that Shelly Finkel said when they started discussing this phantom $50 million, which wasn't a genuine $50 million offer, Eddie Hearn and Joshua were given a 24-hour notice period to accept this $50 million offer. At the time, Eddie Hearn turned around and said, well, I'd like to sit down and have a meeting. Let's discuss this $50 million offer. I want to know what the terms are. I want to know what our obligations are in order to agree upon this deal of $50 million. To that, your response was accept the offer, and then we can discuss this. And then that 24-hour period fucking went by, and then you guys started putting out the message they don't really want the fight. They're not serious. We offered them $50 million and they didn't take it. And then yesterday, you yourself, Shelly Finkel, turned around and said, when we made the offer of $50 million, Eddie Hearn could have turned around and asked us to prove that the $50 million offer is real. And I would have been happy to do so. That's what you said yesterday, Shelly Finkel. That's what you said. But you weren't saying the same thing when you made that $50 million offer a few months ago, or however long it was. You weren't saying this. Your fucking tune has changed. The other thing that I picked up on is when they were asking you around this $50 million offer, when Khan, the English guy, basically brought up the point that I'm making. When Eddie Hearn asked you guys for a contract, he said specifically, Shelly Finkel turned around and said, how long have you been in boxing, to Khan specifically? And he said, when a fight is made, you make an offer. When an offer is accepted, you send a contract. This makes logical sense. This makes sense. But then why were you, Shelly Finkel, saying to us the last time you spoke to the to Boxing Social, the UK channel, why were you saying, why is Eddie Hearn making us offers? The reason why I didn't respond to those emails is we don't want offers. We want to sit down with you. We want to discuss how much money is in the fight, and then we want to make a deal off the back of that. It's double standards. It's double fucking standards, man. Why are things different for you guys compared to Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn? Why do you expect to be treated one way, but then you treat them in the total opposite way, or the way that you don't want to be treated? All of this boils down to this. The reason why Eddie Hearn's been consistent in what he's saying and what he's doing, and Anthony Joshua's been consistent in what he's saying and what he's doing, is because they're telling the fucking truth. They genuinely want this fight. They're trying to make this fight happen. You, on the other hand, are doing everything you can to avoid the fight. And what's another word for avoid? Duck. You're ducking the fucking fight. You're ducking it. There's no other way of explaining it. You're ducking the fight. One of the most telling things about this whole interview was when someone asked you, well, why don't you make them an offer? Why don't you offer them the fight? Why don't you put together a deal and make an offer to Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn? Rather than talking about that, you sidetracked, and what did you say, Shelly Finkel? You said, I've got a good relationship with John Skipper, and our relationship is getting better and it's growing, and this will be the key to making the fight. What's John Skipper got to do with anything? If you're going to make them an offer, surely it should be on Showtime or Fox pay-per-view. And if it's going to be on Showtime and Fox, what John Skipper's got nothing to do with the deal. He works for DAZN. That's like fucking Eddie Hearn going to Stephen Espinoza and negotiating a fight for Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua to happen on DAZN and Sky Sports. What the fuck? The reason why you brought up John Skipper is because you know, like I've said in the previous video, that you guys don't have the money or the resources to make this fight happen on Fox and Showtime, because DAZN have got way more money for this fight. They're willing to pay a lot more. You even said this in the interview. You touched on the fact. They asked you about Showtime. They asked you, why was Tyson Fury fighting on Showtime before? Why was Dillian White fighting on Showtime before? Why was Joshua fighting on Showtime before? And now they're fighting on different platforms. And you said yourself, because the Zone's a new platform and they need to build their audiences so they can offer more money. The proof is in the fucking pudding. Why were you then saying a couple of months back that when this fight happens, it's a pay-per-view fight, it's a $100 million fight, it will happen on pay-per-view, not some app that no one knows about? Then why the fuck are you talking to John Skipper? Why? If you're going to lie, you need to think about what you're going to say when you're lying, so you can stick to your story. But the contradictions and the bullshit are just becoming old. And I'm so glad that most people that follow boxing are beginning to wake up and smell the coffee. The more Eddie Hearn does shows in America and talks to these YouTube channels, these boxing channels in the States, and they ask him about these things that you say, and Eddie Hearn responds to them, and they don't have a comeback. People are seeing this. They're watching this. The amount of YouTube channels, American ones I'm talking about, people on Twitter, people comments on Instagram that I see from American people. The tide's changing. Things are shifting. They're starting to see who actually wants this fight and who doesn't. And to all you fucking LDBC people, all of you Wilder fanboys, what sort of a fucking person supports a promoter over fighters? What sort of a person is a fan of Al Heyman? I'm not a fan of Eddie Hearn. I'm a fan of the fighters that Eddie Hearn promotes. I'm a fan of the fighters that Frank Warren promotes. I'm a fan of the fighters that Bob Arum promotes. Same with Al Heyman. I'm not a fan of the actual fucking promoters. If Joshua was to leave Eddie Hearn and go to Frank Warren, I wouldn't stop watching Joshua fights. You guys who follow blindly all the things that Wilder says and are pilgrims, devotees to Al Heyman, you're watching boxing for the wrong reasons. You're not watching boxing because you enjoy the sport. You're watching it for your own social, political agenda. And it makes you look stupid because you have to follow what Deontay Wilder's saying and what Shelly Finkel's saying. And when they change their story, you need to change your story. And deep down, you know that you're changing the things that you're saying as you're going along. And they're embarrassing you. And you're just following them blindly. It's all just it's embarrassing, man. I can't see how anyone with half a brain can say that Wilder wants this fight and Joshua does. I just can't see it. Honestly, I can't. Anyway, for someone who started this video by saying that they really didn't want to make this video and had nothing to say, I kind of went off on a bit of a rant there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.